Hello, everyone. Wishing you all a very good afternoon. Are you all there? Am I audible? Am I visible to all of you? Can I have raise of hand that I'm audible and visible? Can you tell me if I'm visible and audible to all of you? Okay. So, I think in yesterday's class we had discussed center of mass and collisions, and I gave you few shortcuts to solve that problem. Did you find them useful? Did you use those shortcuts or tricks that I gave you in solving questions? Did you do that? Everyone? Did you use it? Hello? Did you use the thing that I gave you in the yesterday's class? The formulae that were there? Did you use the formulae? Can I have some reason that we understand this? Okay. Today, what we'll do, we'll start something known as circular motion, and we'll try to wind it up in today's class. I always feel that if you can understand a bit basics about circular motion, if you understand the basic problem solving, that will help you a lot in solving problems in rotational motion, as well as I can expect, according to my guess, there will be some question, some sort of a question based on this particular topic, circular motion, and I'm very sure that this is one of the questions that you can do it and score marks. This is a portion where you can score, and hence we'll be discussing this one, and that is according to my calculation or my estimation. So we'll start with this. We will quickly discuss the points, and then at the same time solve some questions based on the circular motion. We all understand what is circular motion. When a particle is moving such that what, a distance from a fixed point remains constant, then that motion is known as circular motion. That fixed point is known as the center, and that fixed distance is known as the radius. All of you know this. Now, as I told you maybe in some class, that everything that we do in circular motion or rotational motion is an analog of what we have done in translational motion. The first analog is angular position. Angular position is the analog of position vector. Do you remember position vector? Do you remember position vector? This is your x-axis, this is your y-axis. If there is a point, if there is an object at some point here, point P, I can draw a vector from origin to point P. This vector tells us the position of point P with respect to point O, and this is known as the position vector of the point P with respect to O. Can I have some reason that we understand this? No one knows this position vector. Okay. Now we had position vector in translational motion. The analog of that thing is known as angular position. Now this is, remember, this is not a vector because angular position is always given in terms of angle, and now normally the angle is always given from the x-axis. As you can see, this is the angle from x-axis. You always know that anti-clockwise angles are taken as positive and clockwise angles are taken as negative. So angular position of the particle gives us its position in terms of angle from one fixed axis. Normally that fixed axis is positive direction of x-axis. Then this is angular displacement. Angular displacement, this is the analog of displacement vector. Do we remember displacement vector? Change in position vector. When a particle changes its position, it changes its position vector. The change in the position vector is known as displacement vector. Similarly, when a particle changes its angular position, we call it angular displacement. Now angular displacement, you must remember this fundamental property. If it is a small angular displacement, it is a vector. If it is a large angular displacement, it is not a vector because it does not follow vector laws of addition. So small change in angle or small change in angular position, or if the angular displacement is small, if it is d theta, small angle change, then it is a vector. If it is a large angle change, it will not be a vector. Can I have some reason that we understand this? Can I have some reason that we understand this? Please keep on raising hands so that I can move on. I can keep on moving forward. Do we understand this? Let me ask Bhojaraju, Jyoti, Jayant, Ashrit, Sai, Soni, Rajesh. Can I have some reason that we understand this? Angular position, angular displacement. Great. Now, whenever we talk about circular motion or we talk about rotational motion, in circular motion or rotational motion, whatever vectors we will encounter, rotational vectors, if you can call them rotational vectors, these are special type of vectors and these are known as axial vectors. Have you heard this term, axial vectors? All the vectors that you see in rotational motion, or in this case circular motion, for example, this angular velocity is also a vector. These are axial vectors. Now, what do you mean by axial vectors? This is what is written here. Direction of small angular displacement or any angular vector will be given by the right hand thumb rule. They are given along an axis by right hand thumb rule. For example, if something is rotating along positive x-axis, or I say the angular velocity is along positive x-axis, angular velocity is a vector. Angular velocity is along positive x-axis. What do I mean? Is you hold the positive x-axis in your right hand. You hold the positive x-axis in your right hand and you curl your fingers. As you can see, your fingers will curl like this, and that will be the direction of omega vector. Do we understand this? All these vectors are axial vectors. Their direction is not given like this or this. Their direction is given by the name of the axis. And how do you get the direction from the axis? You hold the axis in your hand. This is positive x-axis. I'm holding it in my hands. And see how my fingers are turning. My fingers are turning like this. So that is the direction of angular velocity. Do we understand this? Can I have raised hand that we understand this? Angular velocity or angular acceleration or torque or angular momentum or angular impulse. All these are axial vectors. Their direction is given by the axis. So angular velocity, again, you can have average angular velocity is total displacement divided by total time. When you're talking about average angular velocity, it's not a vector because it is total displacement. And if the displacement is long, if the displacement is more, in angle, it is not a vector, and hence average angular velocity is not a vector. Average angular velocity is a scalar. Do we understand this? Can I move on? Average angular velocity is a scalar quantity, but instantaneous angular velocity, the rate at which the angle is changing, d theta by dt, since d theta is a vector, instantaneous angular velocity is a vector. Please raise your hand so that I can move forward. Again, the direction is given by the right hand thumb rule. Hold your axis in your right hand and you curl your fingers and you get your direction. If it is a uniform circular motion, angular velocity will remain constant. If it is uniform circular motion, angular velocity will remain constant. I hope you know that. Uniform circular motion, angular velocity remains constant. Then you have something known as time period. Time period is the time taken to complete one chakkar, one revolution, one rotation. Then you have something known as this omega is known as angular velocity, but sometimes it is also known as angular frequency. Do you know? It is used as angular frequency in a chapter which is known as AC current. You will hear this term angular frequency used for omega. Then it is used as angular frequency, though it is angular velocity. But when it is AC current, instead of calling it angular velocity, we may call it as angular frequency. Do we understand this? Can I have some reason that we understand this? Yes or no? Yes or no? Simple question. Angular displacement is given by this. What is the angular velocity? How do you get the angular velocity? You just differentiate this d theta, this theta with time. You differentiate this theta, you will get this. Yes or no? We understand this? If the angular velocity is constant, it is uniform circular motion. If the angular velocity changes, it is non-uniform circular motion. Now, this angular velocity, who will change this angular velocity? Definitely the answer is angular acceleration denoted by the letter alpha. Two types of angular acceleration, average angular acceleration and instantaneous angular acceleration. Average angular acceleration is total change in angular velocity, that is omega 2, the omega final minus omega initial, divided by omega 1 divided by total time t, that is average angular acceleration. Then you have instantaneous angular acceleration, that is d omega by dt. You can write d omega by dt as omega into d omega by d theta. This is same as writing acceleration as r into d, writing acceleration as v into dv by dr. Do we remember this? It's a analog of what we have done in 1D motion and 2D motion. Can I have some reason that we understand this so that I can move forward? If the angular velocity is constant, alpha is 0, what are the equations of motion? Remember, we have already discussed this equation of motion in 1D or 2D. Same thing has been used here. Final angular velocities, initial plus alpha t. Angular displacement delta theta is omega 1 t plus half alpha a t square. Omega final square is omega initial square plus 2 times alpha delta theta. Delta theta, which is the angular displacement, is omega 1 plus omega 2 by 2. This omega 1 plus omega 2 by 2 is average angular velocity omega. Remember, I gave you the formula for average angular velocity. I gave you the formula for average velocity. Do you remember that formula for uniform acceleration? Do you remember that formula? The same formula has been used here. Yes or no? Can I have some reason that we understand this, sir? No one understands this? Am I going too fast? See, I have to go fast, otherwise I will not be able to cover whatever I'm supposed to cover. So this is average angular velocity, final angular velocity plus initial angular velocity divided by 2. This is the angular displacement in the nth second. This formula again is derived from displacement in the nth second. Displacement in the nth second is u plus a by 2 into 2n minus 1. U ki jagah we put omega, a ki jagah we put alpha, and we get the formula for average. We get the formula for angular displacement in the nth second. Relation between speed and angular velocity. We all know this relation. There is a vector relation. V vector is omega cross r. Do we remember this relation? It's a cross product of omega with r. Omega and r in most of the cases are perpendicular. Whatever cases we come across, and v will be perpendicular to both omega as well as r. Wherever you have a cross product, the resultant vector or the cross product wala vector will always be perpendicular to both the vectors. Can I have this? Can you solve this question for me? These are the type of question that I suppose can come to you. A particle is moving with a constant speed in a circular path. Find the ratio of average velocity to instantaneous velocity when the particle describes an angle of theta is equal to pi by 2. So when the particle is moving with constant speed, you have to find the ratio of average velocity to instantaneous velocity when the angle it has moved is pi by 2. Can you do that for me? I'll give you 2 minutes. How to do this? How to do any question of this nature? Very simple. You have to apply the basic equations. You have to put the value of instantaneous angular velocity. You have to find out how much time it takes to move an angle of pi by 2. Time taken will be the angular displacement divided by omega because it is moving with a constant omega. This is the time it takes. Average velocity is total displacement divided by total time. If you talk about an angle of 90 degrees, the total displacement will be root 2r. If you talk in terms of r, average is total displacement divided by total time, that is the average velocity. Am I clear? The instantaneous velocity remains same as v. You can find their ratio. Do we understand this? Have you got the answer? Brijesh, Sai Teja, Soni, Ashrit, and Bhojaraju. Do you all understand this, beta? Do you all understand this? Okay. Okay, this is a very important concept that probably you might not have heard. As we discussed something about relative velocity, velocity of rain with respect to man, or velocity of river, velocity of boat with respect to river, and so on. You can also have a term known as relative angular velocity. Well, what is this relative angular velocity? Relative angular velocity is the angular velocity with which one body sees the other body moving in angular motion. Now, how do I get this relative velocity? The very simple way of getting this relative velocity of A with respect to B, angular velocity of A with respect to B, what do you find out? Is the perpendicular component of velocity of A with respect to B, and you divide it by the distance or perpendicular distance between A and B. That is how you get relative angular velocity. A very simple question is solved here. See, these are two particles A and B, which are moving in a circular path. The radius of circular path of A is RA. The radius of circular path of B is RB. The velocity of A is VA. The velocity of B is VB. So what they do is, okay, let me make it more general. Is there a general case? Okay, let us take this general case. This might be a better way of understanding. Find the angular velocity of A with respect to B in this figure. Now remember, this is B and this is A. You have to find the relative angular velocity of A with respect to B. Can anyone find me this? Can anyone find me the relative angular velocity of A with respect to B? Can anyone tell me what is happening here? If now, whenever you talk about relative velocity of A with respect to B, what it means is you have become B. You have become B. And after you have become B, you are watching A. And then when you find relative of something, relative angular velocity or relative velocity or relative acceleration, you are seeing or finding how A looks to be. How A looks to be. Can you tell me its motion? Anyone can tell me its motion? How A looks to be? When you become B, what is the motion of A that looks to you? I don't have enough time that I will give you. So basically what you got to do is break this velocity of A into a perpendicular component, and this will be the parallel component. Similarly, you will break the velocity of B into two components, velocity of B ka perpendicular component and velocity of B ka parallel component. Parallel and perpendicular for the line joining these two particles. So I have a line joining these two particles A and B. I resolve A and B ki velocity along two perpendicular direction and two parallel direction along each other. So the velocity along R is called V parallel and the velocity perpendicular is known as V perpendicular. Now, please listen to me very carefully what I'm going to see. I have become B. Now I have become V. I see two velocities of A. I see one velocity of A, which is in this direction. I also have one velocity of myself, which is in this direction. Now, what is this velocity going to do? This is the velocity along R. This is the velocity of A and B in the direction of R. With this velocity, what is going to happen is the distance between A and B is going to reduce or increase. In this case, if VA parallel is more than VB parallel, A will move away from B. If the other case, VA parallel is less than VB parallel, the distance between A and B will reduce. Do you understand this? So VA parallel and VB parallel is telling me whether the distance between A and B is increasing or not. Do we understand this? Can I have some raise hand that we understand this, sir? VA parallel and VB parallel is telling me whether the distance between A and B is increasing or decreasing. Do we understand this? Can I have some raise hands? Yes. So that is the parallel component doing. Now, what is the perpendicular component doing? Now, to understand the perpendicular component, we become the center of the circle. So just like a circle, a center, a radius, and you see a velocity which is perpendicular to the radius. Because of this perpendicular velocity, you will see that this particle A is moving around B. So you find the value of this velocity of A with respect to B in the perpendicular direction. In this case, velocity of A with respect to ground in the perpendicular direction is like this, and velocity of B is like this. So velocity of A with respect to B becomes, both of them will get added up. It will become VA sine theta 1 plus VB sine theta 2. Do we understand this? Both these velocities are getting added up. Do we understand this? Do we understand this? Where it is? Here. Here. This velocity, which is the perpendicular component of velocity of A, is getting added to the perpendicular component of velocity of B to give me what? To give me velocity of A with respect to B ka perpendicular component. Can I have some reason that we understand this, sir? Sir, opposite direction means subtraction. No, sir. It is VA minus VB. One is here, one is here. So one is positive, other is negative. It is negative of positive. It is negative of something. So it's VA minus VB. Now VA is positive and VB is negative. So two negatives makes a positive. So it becomes VA plus VB. Do we understand this, beta? Do we understand this? That it gets added up? Yes or no? We understand it? It is same as finding the relative velocity. When two things are moving towards each other, you subtract it. When they are moving away from each other, you add it. You remember that? So it becomes VA sine theta 1 plus VB sine theta 2 divided by R. This is the average. This is the angular velocity of A with respect to B. Can I have some reason that we understand this, sir? You don't understand this? What is the doubt? What is the doubt anyone has? Okay, we have understood this. Okay, so now this is the question that you got to do. I think this type of question can come. Two particles A and B move on a circle. Initial particle A and B are diagonally opposite. A is here, B is here. Particle A move with angular velocity pi radians. Angular acceleration is pi by 2 and particle B moves with constant angular velocity. Find the time after which both particles will collide. Find the time after which both particles will collide. I'll give you 1 minute. The time starts now. Now this question is same as two particles moving in a straight line. Instead of angular velocity, velocity is given. Instead of angular acceleration, acceleration is given. The same question. Do we understand this? Do we understand this? It is the same question. It is only in terms of circular motion. Has anyone got the answer for this one? Question number 7. So what you need to find out is the angular velocity of B with respect to A or A with respect to B. One is in this direction, the other one is this direction. So one is upward, the other one is down, so they must be added. But here they are subtracting it. Why they are subtracted it? Do you understand why they are subtracted it? Why they have not added it? For me, it looks like it should be added. Remember, beta, angular velocity is an axial vector. Angular velocity is an axial vector. Now, if you look at the angular velocity of A, angular velocity of A is like this. It is like this, like this, like this, like this. So it is in the anti-clockwise sense. Look at the angular velocity of B. It is also like this. Both are in the same direction along the axis. Whenever we talk about angular velocity, angular acceleration, we look at the axis, not the direction. So both are in the same direction. So relative angular velocity of A with respect to B or B with respect to A becomes 2 pi minus pi. You have taken the bigger one as B. So B minus A they have done. B minus A becomes pi. Relative angular acceleration of B with respect to A, they found it as minus pi by 2. Now if A has to catch B or B has to catch A, the angular displacement it has to have should be pi. the angular displacement it has to move is pi, and you put the values of all these quantities, and you have your answer. Do we understand this? Can I have some reason that we understand this? A very beautiful question. This question has come many a times in IIT. It was a question where there was a groove and two balls were supposed to collide with each other in the groove. That was the same question based on the same pattern. Do we understand this? Can I have some reason that we understand this, sir? No points. No one understands this? Brijesh has raised hand. What about others? Let me ask others. Bhojaraju, Jayant, Ashrit, Sai Teja, Sony. Do you understand this beta? These are the problems that you must solve. These are the problems that will come in, that can come in mains, that can come in advance. Keep your cool. Do not subtract when you have to add. Do not add when you have to subtract. I've given you this sheet. I've sent you this sheet. If you can only data do the solved problems of this sheet, I'm sure the entire topic is going to be absolutely clear in your head. Just listen to me. Just solve the solved problems. Have a look at the solved problem, and that is good enough for you to crack any exam. So I leave that for you to do. I hope you can do this. I'm not talking about JEE mains because that is 2 days ahead, but probably for JEE advanced. I think most of you have cleared JEE mains, right? You're looking for JEE advanced. So please do this. That's my honest appeal. Now, having said that, the acceleration can be further thought of as consisting of two components. One is known as the radial component, one is known as the tangential. Radial component is also known as the normal component. Tangential component is also known as the parallel component, or whatever you call it. What does radial component do and what does tangential component do? Can anyone tell me? Tangential acceleration. We had angular acceleration. Now, with which quantity is angular acceleration related to? Now, too much confusion here. Too much confusion here. I have so many acceleration. One is my acceleration A. One is my alpha angular acceleration. Now, one is my AR, which is radial acceleration. Now, one is my AT, tangential acceleration. Too much confusion. Can anyone tell me what is what? Who is related to what? Who is related to what? The relation is very simple. This total acceleration consists of two components. It is AR plus AT. Now, what are these two do? AR, radial acceleration, is always perpendicular to velocity. It is perpendicular to your velocity. This AR vector is always perpendicular to your velocity. This changes the direction of velocity. This changes the direction of velocity. And what does this tangential acceleration do? This changes the magnitude of velocity, or it changes the speed of the particle. Am I clear? Tangential acceleration changes the speed of the particle. Radial acceleration changes the velocity of the particle. Tangential acceleration is related to alpha in this fashion. AT is alpha into R. It changes the magnitude of velocity, or alpha changes the magnitude of angular velocity. Alpha changes the magnitude of angular velocity. For your case, you can also change the direction, but that case will not come to you. Direction means axis. Alpha changes the magnitude of angular velocity. AT changes the magnitude of velocity. Do we understand this? Can I have some reason that we understand this, sir? If this acceleration, tangential acceleration, is directed in the direction of velocity, then the speed will increase. If it is opposite, speed will decrease. Very simple. Centripetal or normal acceleration or radial acceleration changes the direction. Very simple. Total acceleration, as I said, is this. Both are perpendicular to each other. As you can see in big, both are perpendicular to each other. Very nice diagram. This is AR or AN or A centripetal. This is AT or A tangential. Total acceleration is like this. The value of total acceleration is under root of AT square plus AR square. The angle that it makes with the x-axis right now, which is AR, is AR. It should be AT by AR. It's written wrongly here. should be a t by ar here. Okay, do we understand this? Do we understand this? Can I have some raise hand that we understand this, sir? Okay. Okay. Important point, and these are the important point that is going to make a lot of difference in life. Differentiation of speed. If you differentiate speed, you will get tangential acceleration. Very important point. Very important point. Differentiation of velocity gives total acceleration. Very important point. This is magnitude of dv by dt. This is derivative of magnitude of velocity. Both are different. dv by dt ka magnitude is the magnitude of rate of change of velocity, that is the magnitude of total acceleration. Very important point. D of magnitude of v divided by t is the rate of change of magnitude of velocity, which is your tangential acceleration. Please remember this. This will save your souls. SOS, I call it in marine lines. SOS. I have a marine engineer some years back. SOS, save our souls. Calculation of centripetal acceleration, we all know how much is that. Lot of things have been said about it. This is the formula that we are looking at. V square by r, or omega square r, or v multiplied by omega, all are the same formulas. I hope you understand this. The vector formula is very important. Vector formula for centripetal acceleration is omega cross v. Please remember this better. It is perpendicular to both omega and v. Do we understand this? Can I have some reason that we understand this, sir? And this is one example that you will do on this. I'll give you a minute. A particle moves in a circle of radius 2 centimeters at a speed given by this. Find the tangential acceleration. Find the total acceleration. You have 1 minute to do this. Does anyone have answer for this one? Particle moves in a circle of radius 2 centimeters at a speed given by v is equal to 40. V is in centimeter per second, so your answer will be in centimeter per second square. T is in seconds. Find the tangential acceleration at t is equal to 1. So how do I do it? I differentiate speed with respect to time. I differentiate speed with respect to time. I get tangential acceleration. Tangential acceleration is 4 centimeter per second square. To get centimeter acceleration, I do v square by r. You add them, v square, at square plus ac square under root, you get the total acceleration. Can I have some reason that we understand this, sir? A very important question to understand the concept of centripetal acceleration, the concept of tangential acceleration, and the concept of total acceleration. Do we understand this? Can I move forward, beta? I'm running out of time. Do you understand this, everyone? Can I move forward? Can I have some reason that you understand this, sir? Okay. I would move. I think I know. I've sent you this sheet. I've sent you a question sheet also. Don't need to solve the question sheet. You have very less time. If you just go through all these solved problems, I'm sure you would be able to crack the examination. Dynamics of circular motion, we'll talk about force. We talked about centripetal acceleration, so it is centripetal force m into ac, so m into omega square r. Tangential force is m into at, so it is m into dv by dt, where dv by dt is the rate of change of speed with time, m into alpha into r. Do you understand this? Can I have some reason that I understand this? Okay, then you have circular motion in a horizontal plane. Now, whenever we do circular motion, remember, there are only 3 directions in which you can make the equation. Only 3 directions in which you should try and make the equation. Number 1, First direction is towards the center. First equation you should try to make towards the center, and that will be the equation consisting of your centripetal acceleration and centripetal force. Number 2, the second equation, if you can make or if you want to make, it should be towards the tangential direction. The second equation should be tangential equation. If you can make it, if there is an equation, you make it along the tangent. If not, you move on to the third one, which is the direction perpendicular to the plane of circular motion. Perpendicular to the plane of motion. These are the only three directions in which you should make equation. And remember, all these three directions are perpendicular to each other. All these three directions are perpendicular to each other. If this is along the center of the circle, this will be tangential to the circle, and this one will be perpendicular to the circular path. Do we understand this? So these are the three perpendicular direction, x, y, and z if you call it. X, y, and z if you call it. These are the only three directions along which you should be making any type of equation for any type of problem on circular motion that you encounter. Am I clear? Can I have some reason that we understand this, sir? No problem with this one. A very good example is here. This is horizontal motion. So they want to find out the what constant tension in the string. So this, as you can see, this direction is towards center. So you can make one equation here in this direction towards center. You can make one equation along this direction. That will be the tangential direction. So you can make the equation along the tangential direction if you want. Else you make equation perpendicular to this. There is no force acting in that direction, so there is no need of making that equation. Tangential is towards the center. That force is the tension in the string. That must provide you with the centripetal force, or that must be equal to mv squared by r. So you get the value of tension. Tension is mv squared by r. Do you understand this? Can I have some reason that we understand this, sir? Great, great. Now comes this question. This is sometimes known as a conical pendulum. So what do? You have this ceiling. You tie a thread to the ceiling, and then this pendulum tries to rotate like this. Tung, 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 tung. This is known as a conical pendulum. Tension in the string is like this. This is the radius of the bob. This is the radius of the circular motion. Three direction I told you about. Three direction. Three direction. Three direction. Here, this is your towards the center. Towards the center. This one is perpendicular to circular path. Perpendicular to the circular path. And the inside wala direction is the tangential direction, which is going into the plane of the board. Do we understand this? If I assume that this is moving like this, duck, 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 duck. The inside direction is the direction of tangent, along which direction the equations are made. Please listen to me very carefully. One equation is made toward the center. Where is that equation? That equation is this one. T sine theta is mv squared by r. This is the equation towards the center. Please raise your hand if you understand this. This is the equation that is made towards the center. Please understand what I'm saying here. This is the equation that is made towards the center. And look at the other equation. This equation is made in a direction which is perpendicular to the circular path. With these two equations and applying simple geometry, sine theta is r by l, cos theta is this thing, you should be able to solve any question on this conical pendulum. Do I have support here? Can I have some raised hand that I feel good about? That we have understood this, that the effort that I am putting and you are putting by being in the class and being attentive in the class is getting us some benefit. What about you? Bhojaraju, do you understand anything in this class, beta? Jayant, Ashrit, Saiteja, A Soni, can I have some participation? Can you raise hand that we understand this, sir? Okay. That is how you solve questions of this nature. Rest all is very simple. You can do it. Again, here, you can only make equation in three directions. One direction is like this, one direction is like this. These two equations is good enough. The third direction will be perpendicular. You don't need to make equation in perpendicular direction. Total force is kx. That must provide it with you with your centripetal force, and that is what they have calculated, and that is what they have done here. Same question of conical pendulum, same concept, same thing, nothing changes. Same question, same concept, nothing changes. Same question, same concept, nothing changes. This is the towards the center. Inside wala direction is tangential. This direction is perpendicular. You make equation along two directions and you are done. Do we understand this? Can I have some raised hands? That we understand it, sir. Whatever happens, now we are sure how to make equation. Only three direction we have to look at. Many a times people ask me, students ask me, sir, where to make equations for circular motion? We don't understand. Three directions I've given you. That is very good. Radius of curvature. You must know. You must know what is radius of curvature. You must know what is radius of curvature. Any arc of a circle, any arc that you see, any arc is a part of a circle. It has a center. It has a radius. That radius is known as the radius of curvature. How do you get the radius of curvature? mv square. The centripetal force is mv square by r. To get the value of r, you say r is mv square by centripetal force. F by m will be perpendicular or normal acceleration. So you can write the radius of curvature as v square divided by a normal. V square divided by a normal. If you want to do it for a two-dimensional body, you can always use this bigger formula, which has been derived from this formula. Please note down this formula. I've given you the sheet. The formula is in the sheet. Please use it. Here is the question based on this. A particle moves along a trajectory with constant speed. The radius of curvature at x is equal to 0 if it is in the form of a parabola. Please solve it for me. 2 minutes I will give you. So I hope you are able to solve this problem. The trajectory equation is y is equal to ax square. Y is equal to ax square. So you put the formula for radius of trajectory. You find the derivative of y with respect to x. To differentiate this equation, y is equal to ax square with respect to x. Once you put the equation, the value here by putting the value of x, then you differentiate this equation twice. This equation differentiate twice is 2a. You put the values in this equation and you get the answer as 1 by 2a. Do we understand this? Do we understand this, everyone? Do you understand this, everyone? Can I have some raise hand that you understand this? Jayant understands this. Well done. So I'll give you one more problem on this. You can see if I have the problem. No, there's only one problem here. So we'll move on to the next topic, which is motion in a vertical circle. Do we remember this motion in a vertical circle? Up till now, the circle was like this. Now the circle becomes like this. This is known as motion in vertical circle. Again, in this, we only make equations along three directions. One towards center, one is towards tangential. This is the equation along the center. This is there is no equation they have made probably along the tangential direction. So that is the only equation. If you want to find out the value of tension, you can make the equation along the center, put the values of v square by r, put the values of weight, and you will get your answer for tension. Do we remember this question? Tension at the top, at which point the tension is minimum? Tension is minimum on the top of the circle. Do you remember this? And tension is maximum on the bottom of the circle. On the bottom of the circle, tension is maximum as V is also maximum. Top of the circle, tension is minimum, V is also minimum. Do we understand this? Now you also must understand what is the condition for it to complete the circle. The condition for it to complete the circle is velocity at the topmost point should be just more than zero. That means the tension at the topmost point must be just more than zero. Do we understand this? Velocity at the top should be more than zero. Tension at the top should be more than zero. The important condition is tension should be greater than zero. From there, you can get the velocity of the top. The velocity of top, velocity on the highest point should be greater than root over GL. Do we remember this condition for a particle to complete circular path? Then you can apply law of conservation of energy and you can find out the velocity at the lowest point. Lowest point, it must be more than root over 5 GL. So these are the 4 conditions that I see here. I will just make it smaller. Okay, I would like you to note down these 4 conditions. Do it fast. I'll give you 2 minutes. 2 minutes, note down this condition. Have you noted down these conditions here? At the highest point, at the lowest point, at the middle point, what should be the velocities, what should be the accelerations? Have you noted down this? Everyone? With these 4 cases and one more here, 5, you should be able to solve any problem that comes to you from this part. I hope you have read this. This is also available to you. This is a table available to you in the form of notes. I have given it to you. Remember these and you should be able to solve any problems based on this one. Simple problem. I hope you can solve this. I can move forward. Condition for it to leave the circle. You know what is the condition for it to leave the circle? How can what become? What is the condition for looping? At the highest point, tension should be greater than zero. That is, if it is not confined to a circular path. If it is confined to a circular path, then tension can also become zero. I hope you know this case. This case, when a particle is attached to a light rod instead of a string, if you make it a light rod, if it is a string, it can leave the circular path. That is why to complete the circular path, the tension at the highest point must be greater than zero. But if it is a string, that is the case. If it is a rod, if you attach something to a rod, that cannot leave the rod, that cannot leave the circular path. So in that case, the condition for completing the circular path is velocity at the highest point should be greater than zero, rather than tension becoming greater than zero. And in that case, the velocity at the lowest point is root over 4 GL. I hope you know this, right? So there are 2 different cases of completing the circle. One case is for a string, a bob attached to a string. Second case is bob attached to a rod. In the case of bob attached to a string, the condition for completing the circular path is tension at the highest point should be greater than zero. Velocity at the lowest point should be greater than root over 5 GL. For a bob attached to a rod, the condition is velocity at the highest point becomes greater than zero, and hence velocity at the lowest point becomes root 4 GL. Can solve a problem based on this. This one I think is good. Problem number 27. Problem number 27. Can you solve this problem for me? Problem number 27. I'm making it bigger. 2-point masses M are connected to a light rod of length L and is free to rotate in a vertical plane as shown. Calculate the minimum horizontal velocity given to the mass so that is complete circular path in the vertical plane. So what will be the minimum velocity? Whatever velocity should I give it to you? Should I give it? So if I give this particle velocity v, what will the velocity of this particle? What will be the velocity of this particle? It will be v by 2, right? Because they are moving the same, they are moving in a circular path and their angular velocities must be same. So this becomes v by 2. So the total kinetic energy at the lowest point must be equal to the total potential energy at the highest point. Yes or no? So this is the total kinetic energy at the lowest point. The total potential energy is given by this. Do we understand this? And we have this as the velocity for this system to complete circular path. Do we understand this? Can I have raised hand? This is the most important question. Maybe you will see the same question in the exam. Do we all understand this? Can I have some raised hand that we understand this, sir? How many of you were able to solve this? Well done. Well done. Well done. Well done. Now you can solve this one as well. This one. A car is moving with a uniform speed over a circular bridge of radius r with subtend an angle 90 degrees at the center. Find the minimum possible speed so that a car can cross the bridge without losing contact anywhere. The car should not lose contact anywhere. Okay. So how to do this? Minimum speed so that the car can cross the bridge without losing contact. So they are assuming that it loses contact at this angle theta. So they have made the equation along the center, mg cos theta minus normal reaction n is equal to mv square by r. So your n becomes this one. If it has to lose contact, then n becomes 0. So put the value of n as 0. So v becomes root over g r cos theta. For minimum speed, the value of cos theta should be minimum. Now, where is the value of cos theta minimum? This theta is varying from 0 to here 45. As angle increases, velocity of cos theta becomes less. So where will be cos theta minimum? Cos theta will be minimum when the angle is 45 degrees. Do we understand this? So you put the value of cos theta as 45 degrees. We get the value of the minimum velocity which the car should move so that it crosses the bridge. Remember, where is the maximum tendency of car to lose contact? It will be at the highest point. If you're moving with a very fast speed at the highest point, the car may just simply fly. You may have a good stunt, but you will lose contact and you might suffer injuries. Do we understand this? Can I have some reason that we understand this, sir? No problems with this one. No problems with this one. Similar losing contact problem is this one. A block of mass m is released from the top of a frictionless fixed hemisphere. Find the angle with the vertical where it breaks off, the velocity at the instant where it breaks off, the height where it breaks off. Please solve one question. In all of these questions, you will always find this one. In all of this question, you will always find this one. You will first get the value of velocity, then you will apply law of conservation of energy by this way, and you will get all the answers straight away. Try this. So again, the condition for losing contact is n is equal to 0. So mv square by r becomes equal to mg cos theta. From there, you get the value of velocity. Then you apply law of conservation of energy, put the value of b, put h in terms of r. See, this is h, this is r, this is theta. So you can get the relation between h and r and cos theta. H will be equal to r cos theta. Put the value, get the answer, stay happy. Do we understand this or not? Every question that we have done, as a matter of fact, we have only made equations along 3 directions. What are those 3 directions? Please tell me. What are those 3 directions? Please tell me. One is towards the center, other is tangential, the third one is perpendicular to the circle. Circular turning of roads can be done using friction only, using banking only, friction and banking, which is the toughest of these. Using friction, friction will provide it with the necessary tangential centripetal force, and this friction is maximum value is limiting friction. So from there you will get the value of maximum velocity. Velocity must be less than or equal to mu rg ka root. If it is only banking wala angle, this banking ka angle provides you with the centripetal force. V becomes equal to root over rg tan theta. You put this as mu, you get the answer for the first one. So these are the 2 cases that you must remember. Any question of this nature can come to you. You should be able to solve this question. Please have a look at all these questions. By friction and banking, this case becomes a bit difficult. So I will ask you to skip this part. If you don't understand it, just skip this part because it just gets too confusing. If you want, you can remember this formula. Otherwise, you don't waste time on this combined part because it might lead you into trouble. Centrifugal force, we have already studied centripetal force, so you can leave this part. There's no point of doing this for you. Then you can have a read of this. This is simply based on, because the earth is rotating, what will be the value of g? The value of g keeps on changing. So this is basically the value of g keeping on changing. And from there, you are finding the weight of the particle. So you will have this same part in the chapter of gravitation. So you can do this chapter there. Else, I think we have covered everything in this chapter that I wanted to cover. Please look at the notes that I have sent you. Solve the questions that are given in the solved part, and that is more than enough of what you will require for your exams. Am I clear with this one? Is there anything that you want me to ask? Anything that you want me to discuss? Because I'm done with this class, and I think we have done good. In the next class, we will try to talk about work power energy. That will be done, and we have discussed some work power energy problems here. We'll do some in the next class. That will be it from my end. So I hope that we see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Bye bye.